morning. It's a bright Thursday morning, which we did the day after. Amayo Makinde, good morning and welcome.
It's the morning of the 9th of June. But it's a beautiful one, actually. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And indeed, it's the day after the climax that we all expected. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Yeah, very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
And I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Good morning.
Yeah, so we're going to go right ahead and take you through some of the dailies here today. Well, expected that you know what to expect. But we've got a guest to take us through some of those headlines. Kashima Ibokwe is the editor-in-chief of Union newspaper. He's a former editor of Sunday Punch and the former editor of Hallmark newspaper. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Let's start off with the Guardian newspaper. The big lead here, as with most of the ones you may eventually see today, APC presidential primary. Tinubu inches closer to, quote, lifelong ambition. Osinbajo's campaign spokesperson, Adamu Gbajabiamila Akeredolu Aregbesola, congratulates Tinubu. You can now lick your wounds, Tinubu mocks Lawan. And then you see Lawan says, why I contested against you. You are no match for Atiku, PDP tells Tinubu. Then Afenifere responds, you've done well by picking a southern candidate. Insist on restructuring state police. Atiku meets PDP governors over running mate. So quite a lot packed in this, in the write-up to this lead story here this morning, particularly on this matter.
Quite interesting. Asiwaju Tinubu is a dogged fighter. Before the election yesterday, a lot of people thought he would not make it because of what was going on in the ruling party. Remember that even the national chairman came up at a point to say there was a consensus candidate in the person of the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan. And we thought it was all over. But Tinubu fought on, and today is a standard bearer of APC. Congratulations to him. And congratulations to all the other candidates, who have emerged. In PDP, we have Atiku Abubakar, former vice president. We have P2B in the Labour Party, and then Kwankwaso, Musa Kwankwaso in NNPP. That's New Nigerian People's Party. It's going to be an interesting game in 2023, definitely. But I have my fears. We are politicking and electing candidates here and there, but we are not looking at the future of this country.
In what way?
The country is in a mess. Nigeria at the moment is at a crossroads.
Well, they've not presented them to Nigerians. So when that time comes,
well,
that's when Nigerians will ask them those questions, don't you think?
One of them will eventually emerge as the president. Yeah. And I was thinking that before the election, there should have been some form, Afenifere said something like that. There should have been some form of restructuring. A number of Nigerians have called for that. I remember San Afe Babalola said something like that, but in a different way, and people attacked him. So we have a structural problem in Nigeria, and until that is solved, I don't know where we are going, to be honest with you.
Well, there'll be a lot more time for Nigerians to ask politicians those questions. I mean, those who are seeking that #1 job. So I guess they'll keep asking. But look at this at the bottom strip. 2023, anger in Igbo land over APC PDP snub.
It's part of what I just said. You heard Dr. Bonayonu, during the APC convention, vent out his anger. Why? Because since the inception of this democracy in 1999, no Southeasterner has ever been president. In 1999, all of them stepped down for the Southwest. And then Chief Olusegun Obasanjo emerged as the president. He ruled for 8 years and then handed over to a northerner. God bless his soul, Musa Yar'Adua. Unfortunately, he didn't conclude his term. He died in the process. That was how Goodluck Jonathan emerged.
So what exactly did you expect?
I had expected that the parties, especially the major parties, PDP and APC, should have picked their running mate, their candidates from the southeast, at least for equity, for justice.
Indeed. So someone like Mr. Bunaya Ono was on the ballot. I mean, and there are questions as to his own level, his own personal level of engagement as minister. Which he is in this, or he was, because he's had to resign to be able to contest. How would you say that he was engaging, or even the Nigerian public, within his own party and even of the Nigerian public, to make that case? I heard him, and I'm sure a lot of people also heard him. I think he ended his statement asking, where is the justice? But some people will say that that was the moment where he was making that quest was too late. Shouldn't that question have been asked of his party way before that time?
It's part of the problem we have in the southeast. Even you'll be surprised that the opponents of some of the southeasterners that have emerged will come from the same southeast. It's in the nature of the people. They are Republicans, no doubt. But I ask a question. In 1999, how did Obasanjo engage people? How did Chief Olufala engage people? How? Obasanjo just emerged from the prison and was made the president. Did he engage people from the prison? There are certain things you do in order to achieve unity and peace in a country. Once you don't do that, there's going to be a problem. You see what is happening in the southeast at the moment. Killings here and there, disturbances is part of it. And people agitating for self-determination. If this thing had been zoned to the southeast, I know it would have doused the tension, just as it doused the tension in 1999 when it was zoned to the southwest.
Can we say that the southeast leaders or the southeast didn't have a chance, particularly in the PDP, for the leaders there to regroup and come out as a common bloc? Didn't they have that chance?
Why would they not have a chance?
Did they take advantage of it?
The point is even in the PDP's constitution. Zoning is in the constitution of PDP.
Yeah, I get that. But
so why didn't
it's not south, not around the regions. It's around the central blocks, north and south.
Yes, north and south. So who is the presidential candidate? Is he from the south?
Yeah, but he was voted for.
He's from the north.
How did the southeast leaders vote?
They should have zoned it to the south without the northerner contesting. That's the point.
Okay.
As long as it wasn't zoned to the south, then the problem started from there.
Let's take a look at what Daily Trust is saying and how they captioned yesterday's event, or the events of yesterday, because there are a number of events.
Oh, yeah.
2023, Tinubu, Atiku set for epic battle. And some people will say, indeed, the battle is going to be epic, considering not just also the length, also considering the length of the time that they'll have to, do the campaign. Some people have said that, they'll have to wait for INEC to blow the whistle. Do you see them waiting for INEC to blow any whistle before they start this campaign?
They've already started. I don't think they need to wait for any INEC. And the mistake people are making is narrowing it down to PDP and APC.
Okay, let's quickly take the riders, because it says this. APC, PDP, shop for running mates. Oshibajo, Lawan, others have nothing to fear. That's according to Oshibajo. It's a two-horse race. Kwankwaso, Obi stand no chance. That's according to Dons. So you seem to disagree with that, do you?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
It's a political game. They are free to make their projections.
Okay.
But from what I'm seeing, Obi and Kwankwaso, they have a chance. Kwankwaso is a force to reckon with in the north. You can't just wish him away. And Peter Obi too is a force to reckon with, not just even in the southeast. If you follow what is going on currently, you would have seen that a number of youths, are following him. They said, they want to take back their country. So is pregnant, what will happen? We still have a long way to go. Before the election in 2023, you watch and see what will happen. A lot of changes will come up. So it's not going to be a two-horse race, as we are saying. Any of the candidates that wins, we have a serious battle. It's not just going to be that easy for the two dominant parties.
Well, Daily Trust is capturing this here. It also says presidency. Kwankwaso picks NNPP's ticket, vows to restore Nigeria's glory. So they had their own, will I say, affirmation of his candidacy yesterday as well. I think that took place at the stadium, the Moshood Abiola Stadium here in Abuja. Page 16 has details. The economy still manages to make it to the front page. AFCFTA, that's after 28 banks join $500 million Pan-African settlement platform. So it does look like this AFTA is going to take off after all. There have been questions as to whether or not we're set, but it looks like the banks are getting ready to partake of that economy. Are you optimistic?
We should always be optimistic, no matter the challenges. We should always be optimistic, and we should rather be worried, at the larger economy of Nigeria. We keep hearing of debts here and there. The country borrowing. As at last December, we had borrowed up to 39 trillion naira. And the Debt Management Office, DMO, has even projected that this year is going to rise to about 45 trillion naira. Are you not worried about that? It's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect the future of Nigeria.
Nigerians have an opportunity to make another choice, or to do something about it with this electionary campaign. Ask those questions.
Exactly.
And we'll see, whichever way they go. So at the end of the day, we'll wait and see. But there are more papers anyway. So let's take you to our studios in Lagos. They've got some of the papers.
Well, let's flip to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And of course, it's also talking about the APC convention. APC, how governors, NWC, others gave Tinubu victory. We must banish PDP, Tinubu says, as the flaws of Shimbajo, Amechi, Lawan, Bello, others, and a host of other writers. But let's look at other stories. Right above the nameplate, there's this one. Okada ban. Aja residents now live in fear as former riders take to robbery. Well, this is a concern that's been in play, and I'm just wondering if you also saw this coming, Mr. Gokwe.
You mean Okada ban?
No, the Okada ban and the former riders taken to robbery, according to this report.
Well, yes. Okada menace is a very serious one, not just in Lagos, but across the country. It's a serious problem. The Lagos banned it some years ago. They kept coming and going, and then this time round, it appears the state government is serious, and so the Okada riders are agitating naturally because they've been deprived of their source of income. But when you weigh what they do, vis-a-vis the challenges, I think the Lagos state government is in order. The riders should rather go and look for something else to do. We still have the one we call Keke Marwa. They can, start that as an option.
Well,
because the disadvantages of Okada, is far outweigh the advantages. So the earlier and the Lagos and some other places in our cities, we don't need such. We don't need such because abroad. I don't know how Okada. You don't see Okada in abroad. You have good transport system, which I think the Lagos state government is planning. You have taxis and minibuses that they will still introduce. And if that comes on board, then we don't need Okada because it causes accident. they use it to rob and all whatnot. So we don't need it.
Well, the
the
concern
people
here,
should rather
Mr.
go look for something else to do.
That former riders are taken to robbery. Let's just hope, as we have taken the authorities up quite a few times, that they already have this in the kitty and they know exactly what to do. Another concern here that you may want to quickly react to in a few seconds is Russia-Ukraine war. Food crisis could last years. That's ascribed to the World Trade Organization. And of course, as a result of that, so many issues have been coming on. Some multilateral organizations trying to intervene in the food crisis in various parts of Africa. Do you see us, how do you see us getting ahead of this, preparing for it, or even getting ahead of it in the light of the issues that are unfolding?
It's a very serious problem. Around the world, not just for Nigeria, in different parts of the world. Wheat, for instance, is scarce because of this war. And it's affecting Nigeria, not just other parts of the world, Nigeria inclusive. So that is why somehow you see prices of bread rising, because wheat is scarce. And agriculturally, the country is also in a mess. If the insurrection and the insurgency in the north, has driven farmers out of the farms, most of them are not going to the farms anymore. So how do we even solve the problem when farmers don't go to farm? If they go to farm, they're either killed or cows eat up their crops. So it's a very serious challenge. And honestly, I don't know how we wriggle out of it, except the war ends. And it doesn't look like the war will end soon. So purposeful leaders should think of a way out. Nigerians should go back to the farms, those who can, because honestly, as I said before, the country is at a crossroads. If we can't go to the farms to farm, how do we feed ourselves? We need to tackle insecurity in the country. That's key. And we are not doing that. I don't know, Ayo. Maybe you know better, because from what I'm seeing, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, I'm afraid. But people should begin to think of ways of breaking even. Otherwise, I don't know. The crime rate will increase.
Yeah. Well, God forbid that. As we often say here, government has they asked for the job. We hope that they'll be able to do it so that this we can avoid. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Right quick before we flip to other papers. Mrs. is complaining, so to speak. Heavy traffic, my foot. You abandoned your car for a commercial tricycle operated by a woman. I hope nothing is going on between two of you. And Mr. responds, why are you like this? Okay, if you want to become a tricycle operator, I'll get one for you.
I mean, Mr. Bukwe said anyway, the motorcycle riders can switch to tricycles, so there you go. That's an alternative for you. But take a look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning. As you'll expect, 2023 is on the front page. And this is what you find. Tinubu, Atiku set for historic duel. I mean, this has been a long time coming, some would say decades. Now, you see the riders as ex-governor picks APC ticket with 1,271 votes, as well as a lot of other riders that you see right there. Under the picture that shows the APC candidate now being handed over the flag, that's why they call him flag bearer. I imagine you see Wike may be running mates to Atiku. Ex-VP meets RU governors for more consultation. So, yes, the Nigerian Tribune is heavy on politics in 2023 this morning, but I'd like you to quickly respond to this one right on top of the nameplate. 38 died in Owo massacre. Catholic bishop. Ondo government will provide land for mass burial. Akeredolu. Catholic church plans memorial park. You know, it's been 4 days since that attack, and I've been looking around, hoping to see some form of arrest or some form of breakthrough. Do you think this has taken perhaps too long to unravel?
My heart bleeds over what is going on in Nigeria. Nigeria is more like a graveyard, almost on a daily basis. We keep hearing stories of people being killed, innocent people And when you behold the picture of the young lad, girl, that was also killed in Owo, you can't but just cry for this country. It's not just in Owo. In Kaduna, in Anambra, in Imo, all over the country, killings. We don't have value for human lives anymore. I don't know. It's heartrending. And you don't see any attempt to curb this situation. After every killing, what we normally hear from the presidency is that the president will condemn it. Different leaders will condemn the killing, and then president will order that the culprits be brought to book. How many culprits have we brought to book? At the end of the day, these people will go scot-free. Where is our intelligence agencies? Where are they? Where are the security agencies? What are they doing? Why do we keep harvesting deaths on a daily basis? And you look at the horizon, you don't see nothing to show that there's a solution in sight. It's heartrending. I am drawn to tears each time I discuss this, or each time this kind of thing happens. It could happen to any of us. Any of us can be victims. If you're traveling, your heart is in your mouth. Any part of the country. In some parts of the country, you don't even go by road anymore. It must be by air or by train. Even the train is no more feasible. Look at what happened Kaduna to Abuja passengers the other day. Happily, they have been released, but some of them died in the course of that kidnap. It's unfortunate what is going on, and that's why we are looking forward to these candidates who just emerged. Hopefully, some of them may have a solution to this problem. And my advice to Nigerians is to forget ethnicity, look at the pedigree of each of these candidates, who can solve these things for us, these problems, who will give Nigerians what they want. Let us vote for such a person to rescue us from this Golgotha.
And indeed, we hope that these issues
pathetic.
Will form, the campaign points for these candidates who have emerged. Speaking of which, politics is also on the front burner of the leadership newspapers. It takes up the main space. There's this one. After clinching APC ticket, Tinubu faces running mate hurdle. And indeed, the paper has quite a lot to say about who this running mate will be. Let's take a very quick look at it. Dogara, Mustafa, Ganduje, El Rufai, tipped for VP. I wish we know who's tipping who. Well, Nigeria back on track with my emergence attributed to the APC candidate. PMB Lawan, governors Gbajabiamila, Aregbesola, Adamu congratulate Ashiwaju. Now let's go to the bottom strip of the leadership newspapers, where we have the front runners and the, should I say minor runners now? I don't want anyone to get offended. Front runners, okay. We have the APC candidates who emerged yesterday, taking the big space. And then the bottom part, we have Atiku from the PDP. We have Kwankwaso from the NNPP. We have Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim from YPP. And we have Peter Obi of the Labour Party, which is what I want you to speak to very quickly. There's a growing momentum on social media in support, especially for the Labour Party candidate. But really, there's an emerging contention over his candidacy, which we saw in the emergence of another candidate elected by another faction of the party. What does this portend for Peter Obi, even though there's this other strong view that elections are not won on social media? Mr. Ibukwe?
It's getting more interest. Well, I said it before that Peter Obi is a force, and so that is what is coming up now. I guess he must have done his due diligence before joining Labour Party. Mr. Obi is a smart person. He couldn't have joined if he knew that he wasn't going anywhere. So I'm sure that he must have done his due diligence. Of course, there are factions in different parties. In Labour Party, well, the question is, which faction does INEC recognize? I want to believe that INEC recognizes the faction, or well, let me call it faction, where P2B belongs to. Well, if at the end of the day they win in court, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know what will happen, but for now, I think he's in the right faction. The other faction has its own, I don't know what their problem is, but I think they are in court, and interestingly, the chairman of that other faction is a Southeast person. I said it before, that if there's going to be a challenge for a Southeast candidate, it's going to be from the Southeast.
Have you noticed something? Keep lead the candidates of these four parties you mentioned, the PDP, the APC, the NNPP, Labour Party. These chaps are from the former governor stock.
Labour Party, PDP,
APC, NNPP.
NNPP.
That's interesting, anyways.
No. PDP is. Atiku was not.
He was elected governor before he relinquished, and then Obasanjo took him. Then he now handed over to his deputy at that time, who happened to be Bunny Haruna, who took over. So they're from the governor's stock. But it'll be interesting to see how this turns out anyway. So does that mean that's the route to being president? Good. Just thinking aloud, anyways.
Well.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. Kashima Ibokwe is the editor-in-chief, Union Newspaper, former editor, Sunday Punch, as well as Hallmark newspapers. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.
An accountant turned political gladiator, sometimes referred to as a master of the long-term game, who started his political career in 1992 under the Social Democratic Party SDP, there is no denying that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has come a long way. In 1992, Mr. Tinubu was elected to represent Lagos West Senatorial District in a short-lived Third Republic following a military coup led by General Sani Abacha. Prior to that coup, the results of the June 12, 1993 presidential elections were annulled, and Asiwaju Bola Tinubu later went into exile, where he became a founding member of the pro-democracy National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, that mobilized support for the restoration of democracy and recognition of MKO Abiola as winner of the June 12 presidential election. On his return from exile, Mr. Tinubu joined the Alliance for Democracy, under whose platform emerged as governor of Lagos State in 2 successive terms from 1999 to 2007. From that point, the Jagaban, as is fondly called, has assumed the godfather position of Lagos politics, but sometimes criticized by his opponents as having overbearing influence on successive governors, some of whom he's had a fallout with, while his influence stretches to the southwest region. Consistent in the opposition while raising political leaders across the southwest, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and his associate had unsuccessfully attempted to win the presidential election. However, the polity assumed a new posture when the ACN, the CPC, NPP, ABGA, and the new PDP formed a merger now known as the All Progressives Congress to unseat an incumbent president in 2015, further raising his political profile, a show of his political sagacity.
So, Your Excellency, Mr. President.
And ahead of the 2023 general elections, speculations ensued on his possible ambitions to succeed the president. Stories he later confirmed after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari.
It's a categorical declaration. You've gotten that truth from me that I've informed Mr. President of my ambition.
That disclosure sparked conversations, controversies, and power play even in the APC, especially over issues of zoning and consensus candidates. Perhaps perceiving that things might not go his way, Mr. Tinubu drew the battle line with his now famous Abeokuta declaration. Mr. Tinubu's outbursts unsettled some members of his party as some supported him while others were apparently not pleased. After all the political intrigue, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as presidential candidate of the APC after polling 1,271 votes, defeating the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, and other aspirants at the party's special convention. His long journey has also been checkered by controversies and the state of his health. However, armed with the mandate of his party, there is more battle ahead for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as he faces other presidential candidates, including his long-standing friend, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. Jeffrey Uzongo, Channels Television News.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, we'll talk about what transpired yesterday and probably before yesterday, some of the things that may have happened behind the scenes or explains what you may have seen. We've got two people joining us this morning to shed some light on those matters. Hannatu Musa Musawa, Secretary, Presidential Primary Screening Committee, and also Co-Secretary, Media and Publicity Committee of the Presidential Primary Convention. We also have sitting beside her Honorable Chris Okabe, who's a former secretary, Oredo Local Government Council, the one-time chairman, Petroleum Monitoring Committee, PMC, Edo State. Thank you very much for coming. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let me start with you, Hannatu. Having seen the way the entire development played out, give us your impression of what you thought of the whole process.
Honestly, I can say as a party member, I'm extremely proud of the way APC has conducted itself. Having 23 aspirants going into the convention, of course, there was trepidation and a great foreboding as to what would emanate from that, and maybe the fallout and that would and the disenfranchisement, the possible disenfranchisement that would happen. And you know, there were thoughts that there would be an imposition of a candidate. But I think what APC did on Tuesday and Wednesday was to display a high level of democracy, a free and fair process where every single aspirant was given the same level playing field. And I think APC really did deliver. And I think the opposition has a lot to be nervous about.
Honorable Koba, how did you see it?
It was a merry day for APC, as against the insinuations out there before the process and before our primaries that APC was going to implode after that exercise. Like what you could see yesterday, the secretary of that screening panel has just mentioned, it was a very, very, very rigorous process. 23 aspirants, prone to 13. It wasn't easy, and that could have been enough for some persons to even say they are leaving the party because, okay, they couldn't make it. But as a party of inclusiveness, they give room for every 23 aspirants on the day of that primaries, that event yesterday, or day before yesterday, to still share their thoughts with the Nigerian people. And that was one thing that was really exciting to me, that at least they give every one of them a sense of belonging to tell Nigerians what they would have loved to do.
Well, what was the story that made the rounds about some candidates having been disqualified, the number pruned to 10, and then possible 5 and 2? What was that all about? Didn't that happen?
No, that never did happen. I was the secretary of the Presidential Primary Screening Committee, and what we did a very rigorous exercise where we had an opportunity to interact with every single one of these aspirants. And the exercise was twofold, whereby the first part of the exercise was every single aspirant was asked the same questions based on constitutional requirements, electoral act requirements, and the guidelines of the party. And every single aspirant passed that. And then the second part of the exercise, we're going into an election. The whole purpose of this process is actually to win the election. So no sentiment was brought in. So what we did was, based on all the responses that we got from every aspirant, we looked at it and looked to see who were the strongest candidates to face a very formidable opposition in the name of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And we assessed them based on that. And what we did was to advise the party, saying that every single aspirant has passed and had been cleared by our panel. But at the same time, we advise and recommend that these 13 were the strongest to go into the election as a way to whittle down the number, because we knew that going into an election with 23 members was just not advisable. So, like I said, every single member was cleared by the panel. I know that the media reported that some had been disqualified, but nobody had been disqualified. And so we recommended it. And of course, the party didn't have to take that as sacrosanct. It was just an advice by our way. And I think even with the governors, when they tried to prune it down to 5, it was again an advice that they wanted to give the president, just as a way to be able to handle the whole process easier.
So was there some sort of grading?
No, there was no grading. Like I said, we did go through constitutional requirements, electoral act requirements, and the constitution of the party and the guidelines. And then we, as a panel, also came up with certain questions, with certain benchmarks that we thought was important to ask the aspirants, such as when you declared, how many states have you visited? What is your policy framework for the party? So it wasn't a grade mark. It was just from our interactions what we thought was by way of advice as to who the strongest aspirants were going into the convention.
Well, finally, you decided to go. I do not know why it was that you thought that, 23 aspirants were a little too many to be on the ballot or, for people to vote for. Because, I mean, even INEC has about 78 parties on its presidential ballot. It's tried to prune it down, though, but sometimes it is not very successful. But let me ask you, Mr. Chris Okaibe, what you make of the entire process, the horse trading that went on behind the scenes. We were not privy to it. I do not know, because you were a VVIP at that event, so I do not know if you were privy to some of it. But tell us how it played out in a state like yours, where the governor has now ported to the PDP, and you're left without a governor. Would I say without an actual leader in Edo State?
Yeah, point of correction, I must tell you, Maokwe. In every society, in every political party, and even in a community, they are leaders.
Indeed.
They are community heads. And I always try to correct some perceptions. The constitution of our party says, where there is no governor, the most high-ranking political office holders become the leader of the party. In Edo today, you cannot take it away. Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole is immediate past governor of Edo State. He stands in to be the leader of the party in Edo State. So,
there's no contest to that now.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you see, sometimes people will easily get carried away. And I always try to remind us. I must, first of all, thank our northern governors. The smiles over all of us today is arising from the fact that the northern governors came out from the sincerity of their heart that we must keep this country together. And in keeping this country together, we must work with the marriage of convenience we had politically to say that, okay, we must try to always give, take.
And that was a big deal.
It was.
It was a big deal for your party.
Oh, yes, it was.
If they hadn't taken a decision, what effect do you think it would have had? I know you haven't answered that.
Of course, that would have further, there's so much tension in the country today. Let's not get it wrong. There's so much tension in the country. From our decision yesterday, I can tell you, we are 40% already ahead of PDP. I can say that with all confidence.
All parties say that.
40% ahead of PDP.
Even before our campaigns, yeah, because they've taken their candidate from the north, and they know within their own system, and I'm sure Obasanjo also mentioned it in one of his interviews, that there was a conversation, and that conversation still stands, that marriage of convenience is still valid, to say that we must rotate power between the north and the south.
They have their own.
Yes, so that's why I said,
yes,
whatever their reasons are.
Yes.
As a party, everybody must give them the room for fair play. That's what the politics of Nigeria. I tell everyone who cares to listen, politics have become very dynamic. In Adamawa today, we have a female governorship candidate. Who said that would have been possible? Whereas some people said a woman can never be a governor in Nigeria. A woman can never be a president.
She's not yet the governor.
They know what I'm saying. She's already a candidate.
Yes. We'll see if your party will do what it can to deliver her. So the onus is on your party to make sure you deliver.
To make sure we deliver her. And of course, let me tell you, she has delivered herself, because now the lesson for every politician to learn, you cannot be an Abuja politician when you do not have your home base.
So what were the lessons there then for the chairman in terms of that announcement that was made about Senate president?
The lesson to have learned. Now, I'm sure you also saw another version where the national chairman said, show me the video where I made that pronouncement. So is your word against his own?
Oh, they can say that now.
That's why we all must be careful what we listen to out there in the social media. And I thank you guys who belong to the fourth realm of the estate, because you have a way of balancing your stories so that nobody takes you to court tomorrow. No, this information came out from your desk and I'm taking you to court. So that's why you try to balance your information. But I think from what my uncle said, we all came out from Edo, all the Edo delegates came out into Abuja with the mindset that party is supreme. And whatever the party decides is where we're going to go. Because everybody cannot be a pilot in an aircraft that is taking us from Abuja to Lagos.
You say, whatever the party says. What did the party say? What did the party say? Because there was a lot of confusion up to the very last minute.
The one I should expect you to take valid is the outcome of what you saw on Tuesday, which is all the aspirants were given a fair play.
Okay. Can I just offer to clear up this notion that the chairman made a pronouncement? There was no pronouncement or official declaration to him that was released based on what the chairman said regarding the Senate president. And even if something had been said in a private meeting, we don't know the context in which it was said. I mean, I remember when we sat for the panel, there was stories that we had screened in secret, the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. That never happened.
Exactly.
And then there were stories that certain aspirants had been
anointed.
Had been disqualified. That never happened. As far as I know, the chairman never made any pronouncement regarding Ahmed Lawan or any anointed candidate. And like I said, if something had been said in a private capacity, we don't know the context in which it was said. So I would urge everyone to take with a grain of salt that the chairman had made any attempt to anoint or force certain candidates on the party. That was not an official position that was taken.
But it was official that the party, Kogi State Governor, voiced out saying, listen, they can't try to scheme me out of all of this, because if I didn't get any communication that I've been disqualified, why are they telling us not to contest, whether or not they say they wanted to go to the south?
I think the Kogi governor was well within his rights. At the point that the Kogi governor went ahead and bought the form of expression of interest for 100 million naira, nobody communicated to him at that point that he was not eligible because he did not come from the southern part of the country. So I think he was well within his rights to come out and make that protest, even though the governors maybe made whatever decision they made based on what they felt was the mood of the nation, and maybe in anticipation that there would be a contradictory move against what the mood of the nation was. But I think certainly the Kogi governor, again, was within his rights to make that protest.
All right, my colleagues in Lagos, I've got questions for you both.
This one is for you. Having sat in that panel, you know, operated the way it went and everything, at the end of the day, it's all about governance. It's all about having impact on Nigerians. So the question then would be, how significantly did the APC manifesto comb deliverables or promises of the contestants play in the screening process? I ask that because at the end of the day, everyone will be expecting that whoever, of course, in this case, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has, you know, come up as your party's candidate. What are the promises, or rather intentions or plans, and how significantly did that play in the choice or in the screening process, you know, that threw up the contestants that were fielded at the convention?
The aspect of the party manifesto was very pertinent to the exercise that we held in the screening committee. And one of the main questions that was, one of the main guidelines that was given to us from the party was whether the contestants were conversant with the present party manifesto. One of the guidelines, one of the additions that we made as a panel was to see what policy framework or manifesto each aspirant had that would add towards the party manifesto here. I think I will not be able to articulate to you what the every single aspirant, or not even every single aspirant, now is Asiwaju, alleged Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, because he's now the flag bearer of the party. I think it is now left up, it has to be left up to him to be able to express and articulate his own policy framework and manifesto, whether he's going to go ahead and add to what has already been put in place by the party, and then we want to see what he brings on board as well. So I will not be able to articulate to you what he wants to do. We expect that he will improve on what has already been done.
Well, one of the reasons for this question is also part of what the president said, that the party would be supreme. Party supremacy is going to play a heavy role this time around after 2023. I ask that because, especially concerning the party manifesto, because that's supposed to be the blueprint upon which the party would run. So question then is, how significant was that, and how significantly will the party monitor, if at all, the progress the candidate would make if he becomes president of Nigeria? Otherwise, all of the efforts made to the screening and all would be, okay, you can do it, go ahead and do it, and there'll be no monitoring.
Yes, well, of course, the party manifesto is very important, but whoever, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, when he becomes president by the grace of God, will not be, even though the party is supreme, he will not be a slave to the party. Of course, as the head of government, he will have an opportunity to make any adjustments that he thinks is necessary. The party manifesto was couched at a certain time, and times have evolved. Things change over time. So obviously, whatever it is in the party manifesto that was drawn up back in 2015 has to be developed and has to evolve. And I guess Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will sit down with a credible team and be able to look at that manifesto, to be able to examine it and to see whether it is all right as of now to respond to the crisis and the issues that come up today. So definitely it has to develop, and he will not be a slave to what the party says, even though the party is supreme. But I believe that he will work in tandem, hand in hand with the party, in order to give the Nigerians the deliverables that they require and that they deserve.
Thank you, Madam Hanoto. And this question would have been for you, but since you both belong to the same party as well as Mr. Okaben, I'll take this to Mr. Okaben. Particularly because it was Madam Hanoto that referenced, calls about the party set for implosion because of the horse trading and the drama that preceded the primaries. But isn't it, in fact, the case that the party was processing all of this, which led to different statements emanating from the presidency? And if indeed there was no cause for consensus, why would the president have said that he had anointed no one? And was it in fact the reason that informed the very long delay before the primaries began? So was the APC listening to permutations about what could happen if it did not toe the democratic line in choosing its flag bearer?
Yeah, thank you, my sister. One thing I know and I'm very, very sure about is the party and the president, they cannot work at alternative directions. They know very well that we're going into a very tense election and we must get it right for us to be able to remain in power. And for any right-thinking APC member, what we all need at this point in time is to get more united. Even after this primaries yesterday, now that we have a flag bearer, what is important is immediately for the national chairman to set up a reconciliatory structure and committee that must bring all the aspirants together and get everybody on board. So whatever, governance is not run by speculations, it's not run by propaganda. Whatever was happening out there, we have our own party internal mechanism, for which we can bring ourselves together, those who are going astray, call everybody together to come to understand that everybody cannot be the candidate at the same time. So if it was easy for us to say, okay, everybody stepped on board, what APC has done, it is one of the ingredients of democracy that can give a sense of belonging to anyone. And that we have done. Give everybody a fair playing ground to exercise your right. And that everybody have done. If you had said, no, all of you, done your tools, there's a person going. Of course, this person becomes upset that he wasn't given a right to convince his people to vote for him. Everybody had an opportunity to convince their delegates to vote for me and not to vote for me. And from the results yesterday, I'm sure everyone is happy.
That's the point I'm about to make now. Are you sure, confident that everyone is happy? Everyone remembers that very big rhetorical question that Chief Ogbonnaya Ono asked when he made his own presentation by asking, where is the justice? So is everyone happy, all the aspirants happy, in the light of Section 84(9) of the Electoral Act that the party must fulfill in presenting its flag bearer?
Now that you spoke about Section 84(9), I think APC has fulfilled every obligation of that section. I'm confident to say that now. Because the section says, where there is a consensus, all the aspirants must put in writing their withdrawal. In this case, we did not arrive at a consensus. So the essence of writing was no longer necessary. What Ogbonnaya Ono said, I think he was talking about equity and justice, that why don't they zone it to the southeast? It was zoned to the south, and now opportunities were given to anybody in the south to contest. Anybody in the south to contest. But I dare to ask today, we had delegates from the southeast. I should naturally have expected to at least stand by their zone and do also a horse trading in the field, appealing to the conscience of the Southwest and the South-South to support them to produce their candidate. Charity begins at home. Emeka Wanjuba is from Imo. How many votes did he get? They were delegates from Imo.
Did he contest?
Of course he contested.
No, he quit.
We did not receive that letter until... We didn't receive... I'm not sure the party received the letter, because if not, his name would not have been mentioned in the podium. I remember that his name was called 3 times for him to speak to his people, and he was nowhere to be found. So for me, in politics, there's no room for cowardice. You must stand up to the game Because that's why it's called politics. That's why it's called politics. Whatever you know, that capacity for which you said you bought that 400 million. I salute the courage of those who saw it through. Jack Tenrich and all others. Even there are some people who naturally knew they cannot win, but there was room for trying.
It's quite interesting, really, because
Can I just on that point, it would be foolhardy for any of us to think that there were not people who feel disenfranchised this morning, despite the fact that the process was, to most people's opinion, free, fair and transparent. People put a lot of energy, time, effort into certain objective, and when you don't get that objective, as a human being, you're bound to be disappointed. So definitely there will be people that will be disappointed. There's no doubt about that. But the party knows this and has put in mechanisms in place that will be able to handle that. And I think even from yesterday, that has been put into process, and we're doing everything that we can to ensure that every single candidate stays in the party. Every single one of these aspirants is of value to the APC, and we are not ready to lose not even one of them.
Well, let me come in now. I'm still staying with you. I know parties essentially want to win elections, so they'll do all they can just so they can win the elections. But I'd like to know, in all of this, the build-up to the primaries itself, to what extent is your party factoring in the mood of the nation? I know you've talked about the mood of the nation as well, but more importantly, to manage that diversity we have as a nation. As you know well, Nigeria is not just multi-ethnic, but multi-religious as well. Yes, we've seen the northern governor saying, we think it should go to the south. And for a lot of people, that was some good move. But don't forget that there's also the religious angle to this one. And a lot of people will be looking at the first, or at least the past 7 now going to 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari, and there will naturally be projections for the next 8 years saying, well, because we're multi-ethnic, because we're multi-religious, this is where it should go. So to what extent is your party factoring in that such that you can better manage the diversity in Nigeria?
I think what our party has displayed yesterday is the fact that they are ready to take in the mood of the nation. And of course, there's this issue of the religious aspect as well. And of course, the party is going to take that into consideration as well. But even though now I think it's too early to make any conjecture as to where the party is going to go with that. But I know within all the considerations, there's going to be a very, very important and nuanced conversation as to what the party decides, and even when it decides what it eventually does decide, to see how we can manage any fallout that may come from that. I think most definitely what Nigerians can expect from APC going into this election is trying to take every single Nigerian along. And I would want to also align myself with, at this point, with Dr. Obanaya Onu, to say that definitely the Southeast has to be really taken along. I do think that there's an importance for the party to ensure that the Southeast feels that it's an important part of Nigeria. And that is a very big consideration that I'm very much aware that not only the party, but the aspirant that has emerged, it's really going to take into consideration. And on the religious aspect, it's going to take that into consideration. But I would also want to tell Nigerians that at the end of the day, it's very important for us to win. We need to win an election, and that has to be the underlying factor on any decision that is made moving forward.
And that's really understandable. But the question still remains, at what cost? Really, that victory, that winning, at what cost? Will it be at the cost of, you know, that managing the diversity, the unity of Nigeria, or at least keeping Nigeria one? But it's interesting you actually say that your party is considering that. So are you saying maybe we'll see a vice presidential slot for the Southeast, maybe?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that, because now that you're talking about, now that we have a Southwest president, then it's only natural that the vice president is going to emanate somewhere from the north. So I'm not sure what Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, together with the party, is going to decide on that. But I'm sure that at some point, every single region of Nigeria will be taken into consideration and to be brought on board. At the end of the day, it's only one person that's going to emerge as the vice presidential candidate, and that person has to come from somewhere. And wherever that person comes from is going to be something that will be free and fair to every single Nigerian. But at the end of the day, every single region will be taken along in the next administration, God willing.
But is it really natural that the vice president comes from the north? Because as we have seen now, your party didn't, yes, may have gone with the south, move to have a presidential candidate, but the religious aspects, for example, your party didn't go with it. So it would seem we're throwing this open and saying, let's just have competent people rule. So really, must your vice president come from the north?
But you can't say that the religious aspect, we didn't go with it, because the party decided to, or rather the delegates decided to vote for a candidate from the south of Nigeria. And in the south of Nigeria, you have Muslims and Christians. You have non-Muslims and non-Christians. And every single one of these people qualify because they came from the south of Nigeria. So in that aspect, I think the religious aspect was not brought into fray. It was only whether the candidate was going to come from the north and the south, and that was what the delegates had decided at the end of the day. But going, like I said, for the vice presidential slot, I think it's too early for us to make conjectures as to whether it's going to be a Muslim or a Christian. The vice president is going to have to be something. So I think the party is going to sit down and look at what is primarily in the best interest of the nation, and then secondarily what is going to make us get that victory 2023.
And just a quick follow-up to that. Is the APC going to wait for the PDP to emerge with its own vice presidential candidate? And if indeed the vice presidential candidate of the PDP turns out to be someone from the southeast, how will that inform your own choice?
I will follow as a party member if that is what the flag bearer together with the party has decided. I would want to believe that they have come to that conclusion in wisdom, in great wisdom, and I will support the party 100%. And I'm sure most of the members of the party will also give that support to the party and to the flag bearer.
Well, the events of the week preceding the party's primaries were quite telling. And I mean, you've spoken about how people will still feel hard done by, even though the process was very transparent. Well, Honorable, this question is for you. First and foremost, do you think that when Asiwaju won his ticket, do you think that his speech was reconciliatory enough to start healing the cracks that could have emerged as a result of the events leading up to the presidential primaries of your party?
Yeah, the process of healing, the foundation, rather, process of the healing begins from where he commended all the aspirants who contested with him, because it was not a gift. They all went to the ballot, and like he said, he appreciates them because they coming on the field, coming on the ballot with him, made him stronger, it humbled him. And that word underlined that he feels very humbled by the fact that, yes, we have courageous and brave men. Because we all understand that a lot of people would have, ran away to say, Asiwaju, we can't engage on a battle with Asiwaju. So I think when immediately he was handed that, before he was handed the flag in his acceptance speech, he was very clear that he commends all those, his co-aspirants.
He did.
Yes.
But except one of them, the Senate president, when he told him that, you're going to lick your wounds.
Was that reconciliatory?
When he said to the Senate president, whatever he said to the Senate president, I'm sure by now you will know, like we always call him, Baba. Baba cracks a lot of jokes.
Oh, that was a joke?
You cannot take it, don't take it to heart. He didn't mean that. Because I'm sure after that, when they left, our party is united. When they left Eagle Square, they were still together in the evening. And of course, are you going to take very seriously when Asiwaju said, Mr. President, I will punish you today? So he was in a happy mood.
Well, you know, we're journalists, you're a politician.
So he was in the happiest mood. And the president understood. And he said, no, if you noticed from your clip, he and the president kept cracking that joke. So I say you stayed very long there. You enjoyed it. And so they were both cracking joke. You never stopped it. So
yes,
it's,
so maybe
it's part
that
of
was
politics.
a joke. I mean, but I mean, and maybe now there will be talk as to, you know, whether, you know, they are now on perfect terms. But if you look at his outburst in Abeokuta, that was a man on a warpath who felt that something was about to be taken away from him and he wasn't going to let it slip out of his hands easily. So he was suddenly on the offensive. Some people have taken offense to that. The presidency released a statement to that effect, let's not forget. So there will be questions as to whether those undertones have been well taken care of for your party to be able to move ahead.
I will not. And this time around, I don't want to pretend about this because we are talking in front of a national television. I respected one of the channels at that matter. That outburst, I will even do worse if I were him, if I was wearing his shoes.
Why?
For obvious reasons. Whatever the outburst was, we must be careful of the kind of rumors we peddle out there. If a man was jetting out on an aircraft to go and talk to delegates, and someone probably sending him a message that I think they already have an anointed candidate. And the man says, you can't be serious. Forget about that and don't discuss it. And somebody said again, is telling him again that I'm sure this exercise is in futility.
Even though you told me, show me the video.
Exactly.
So why couldn't he show me the video before he made the outburst?
Whatever the outburst is, that's why I told you. In politics, the end result of the outburst now is that we have a candidate.
But Hannah, was it true? Okay. Is there any truth to, you could add this to that, your thoughts as well. Is there any truth in the fact, in what was said? Because if he made that outburst, he must have taken it seriously that, wait a minute, are they trying to scheme me out of all of this?
Well, perhaps, you know, they say from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And I think whatever Asiwaju said was something that emanated from his heart. He was very emotional when he said that. You have to remember this is a man that has put in decades into this process. He has done a lot of work in terms of trying to build a network and has put his all into what he couches as his ambition.
But that suggests that that kind of thing did actually happen.
It may have.
Because he's got a lot more information.
Politics. Yeah. It may have because it's politics. So people are bound to have their favorite candidates and stuff like that. And maybe there's something that may have happened that he felt he was going to be outdone by. He spoke from a place of emotion. But I think that is not really something that is going to stop us. We have to move on from there. Because at this point, our objective is now to win the 2023 election. So I think even if there is some disenfranchisement or some disappointment from the point of the flag bearer himself, we have to move on from there. And we have to be able to take along all these other people that we may have felt have done us wrong. At this point, we have to be a house united. So I think... yes, he may have, it was emotional. I think he's an emotional kind of person and he's put in a lot of work into this in his aspiration. So I think he has every right to express himself in the way that he felt.
And Chamberlain, just to add to what my sister said, she mentioned something now. The man has put in so much. I am proud to say none of us can boast or could have boasted, including the Senate president, of saying we have a party or a platform with which we're able to exercise our potentials, if this man did not risk his all for this party.
But I also think every single, yes, he has risked his all for the party, but I think every single member, every single aspirant, despite how long they've been committed to the journey, has also brought something on board and is of value moving forward. So.
All right, we'll have to thank you both. Hannatu Musa Musawa, Secretary, Presidential Primary Screening Committee and Co-Secretary, Media and Publicity Committee of the APC, and as well as Honorable Chris Okebe, former Secretary, Oredo Local Government.
Honorable Member at the State House of Assembly. Is okay.
Wait. Of the, what? Is it the 12 or the 10?
No, the 14.
The 14.
Don't remember. Don't forget.
I'm sure you're optimistic
I'm a
now.
two-time member.
I'm sure you'll be optimistic now that you have a flag bearer. That something positive may happen. That's why you're grinning from ear to ear.
Can I just say very quickly, Malpe, you are such an inspiration to women all over the country. You've done a great, you've done so well. And every single woman is so, so proud of you. You have opened doors and you're kind of breaking the glass ceiling. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you for
not only journalism, but...
And I must commend you also, Chamberlain.
And Chamberlain as well.
Well, thank you both for coming on. We will be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Now we have a big task ahead. The substantial convention for the presidential primary. I congratulate all the winners and our newly emerged party flag bearers so far for the 2023 general elections, and urge you to be magnanimous in victory, particularly towards your fellow aspirants who conceded to you. I urge you at all times to abide by the party rules and follow party reconciliation processes. In every competitive event, there are bound to be winners and runners-up. And as such, all the aspirants who lost or conceded at the primaries, I equally urge you to maintain the spirit of sportsmanship and to stand by our great party for the next challenges ahead. We now have to choose a leadership, not just to win elections next year, but to continue and improve on these landmarks. We must choose a knowledgeable, fair-minded nationalist with a very strong belief in the unity of our nation, Nigeria, and strength of character and purpose to steer the country forward. We should not allow the PDP to drag the country backwards. I thank you. May God bless our party.
Welcome back. Yes, we turn our attention to the People's Democratic Party. As you see, we've got two gentlemen joining us here today. Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf. He's a member of the House of Reps, but now a senatorial candidate of APC Kogi West.
PDP.
I beg your pardon, PDP. What's going on? Who's writing this? It's PDP Kogi West. That's what I indicated. Oladimiji Fabi is a member of the PDP. Can't get that wrong. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on this morning. Well. Haven't seen the way the APC primary is gone. I know that when the PDP held their primary and had the flag bearer, the APC had an eye on that, and so they thought, okay, we need to do something in response to this. Now, they've had theirs, and then PDP also keeping watch because the flag bearer did make some comments about the PDP. What do you think, Honorable Yusuf?
The emergence of the APC candidate?
Yes.
Welcome development. It's expected.
Your party concerned?
Anybody contesting the election will never underestimate any opponent. If you are indeed a worthy politician, you do that at your peril. So, natural. Wilkerson is a very, very, very sound politician with a lot of pedigree. However, we have what it takes.
Were you worried about, because I know that I was listening to the acceptance speech of the APC flag bearer yesterday, and he talked about how people thought they were not going to make it as a party, especially when you look at the events leading up to his emergence and even the events leading up to the party's primaries in general. Were you concerned? I don't know why you should be concerned, though. I'm sure you'd have been praying for them to scatter. But, I mean, I'm sure you must have been watching with keen interest, and you're wondering as well if they were going to make it. What were your thoughts when eventually the primaries came and they decided to go into open secret ballot?
Thank you, Mark. But first, you know, this is all, everything is about, it's all politics, and then just like Honorable TJ said, you don't underrate either a party or anybody who's winning an election. The APC understood what was at stake, and they knew if they delayed further or they didn't get it right, the consequences may be so there, you know. So they had to do something about it, and that was the outcome you saw.
You could see that already.
We knew they would come together. They would find a way around it. A lot of things played out, and then, well, congratulations to them. They were able to at least come up with something. So what happens after that is what we're looking. You know.
What is at stake? What is at stake? Tell us, from the perspective of politicians, what is at stake? Because sometimes what you think is at stake might not be what the people see.
But this is very glaring. We have timelines for our elections. They have to grapple with that. They have to meet the timelines. That's a huge thing, because if anything just come and they couldn't meet up with that, it's a big problem for them. Well, regardless of whether they are the ruling party or not. You can see that in the build up to that, they've shifted goalposts on so many occasions. Even INEC
had to shift for them.
Had to shift for them. So these are issues.
Okay, well, because it was IPAC. Everybody thought, well, IPAC made the request.
Forget about all those things. It's the normal way, you know, the ruling party always. We saw that. We saw how they were trying to, you know, maneuver things, but Nigerians are there shouting on them, waiting, and they know what's at stake, like I said.
Does your party have any such thing as the Southeast concern?
Every party should have the Southeast concern. An attempt to make it look unimportant would be to attempt to enforce the peace of the graveyard, where you just have people are quiet, but they are bottled anger. So every party has it. We have a responsibility as a nation to deliberately integrate or encourage or bring to for any agitation before it becomes something new we cannot manage. The Southeast rightly feel that they should take a shot. But however, power is not given. It has a process to power. So, in as much as I agree with the Southeast, there's a responsibility on the political leadership of the Southeast to deliberately become more engaging. I'm privileged to have a background of student journalism, but we have what we call the 3 C's those days when we're doing Aluta. Say consultation, consolidation before confrontation. So there is a process that
Even
must
sometimes the confrontation comes before some of this other.
That's what people assume. People assume that youth, I don't know, I'm not be part of the movement now, but in my own time, we do a lot of that. It is natural that when you go as a young man to the platform to speak, the students are agitated, they want you to do, but before we go to that platform, I've done a lot of things. So let me not digress too much. I'm just saying that the South has a genuine, reason to be concerned. And as a nation, we have a genuine reason to deliberately find a way out of it. What happened in 1999 was an offshoot of the crisis that emanated from the June 12th election. That's when you had the 2 major parties at that time, had 2 Southwest candidates, Lufaya Lai and Olusegun Obasanjo. It was deliberate so as to calm the nerves in Southwest. So the Southeast need to go strategize and come again.
So how's your party handling that now? Managing the outcome, the fallout of the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar?
So let me tell you, the first thing is the PDP and even the candidate of our party recognize the fact that the agitations of the Southeast are truly genuine, and as a result of lots of injustices that have been done to the zone, that is the starting point. Recognizing that, and then we felt, you know, the PDP idea is to bring everybody on board, and then a lot of consultation were, of course, have started, you know, going on. If you remember, Southeast, it's for PDP all along, because before we started having all this incursion by other parties, and it will come back to PDP. That's why the consultations among the stakeholders, even the religious leaders, the opinion leaders, have even commenced in earnest. I remember during the consultation of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, I was a member of the technical committee that went around, and we had robust conversation with all these guys. And at that time, a lot of them were you know, not coming out because they're not sure of what the youths of the zone, you know, would do. But all that has been taken care of now. Just like Honorable TJ said, see, it's a genuine concern. And everybody, whether from the PDP or from the APC, must be able to address that agitation. It's genuine. So most of the injustices that have been established have to be taken, and that's why I'm happy that PDP has a candidate who is a non-unifier, who everybody knows his relationship with every region of the country. You can see that when he came, his emergence received a lot of acceptance, and then from the people across the country. So we're good with that.
All right, we'll come back in just a moment. We need to go to break, but don't go away, because we'll be right back.
Aisha, you don't see election posters wey full for town?
Yes, so election don't near finish.
And the people wey full the posters na same old faces, no woman, no young person. Time don't reach when we go change this kind thing. Oh. As for me, na to enter one political party so that I go join inside people when they make things happen.
Gaskia, not true. Imagine say woman and youth with sabiness we go chukum out inside government full all these election posters for town.
You dey correct. We got to arrange ourselves to lead we country.
Yes, so we gas contest inside all the positions where them they vote for.
Women and youth get plenty things to contribute to build we country. Play your part so that the life of your coming generations goes sweet wella. Hope, action, and progress for women and youth inside politics.
This message now from the Campaign for Hope, Action and Progress for Women and Young People's Inclusion for Politics and Partners.
Medical Sciences, UNIMED, in Ondo City, Ondo State. It's not just the first specialized medical and health sciences university in Nigeria.
It is the best ground for training in the health professions and medical sciences with outstanding products.
I had to enroll at another institution before coming to UNIMED, and I can tell you in terms of facility, affordable cost, uninterrupted academic calendar, University of Medical Sciences blew my mind.
In just 7 years of its founding, the National Universities Commission, NUC, ranks UNIMED best among medical and health sciences university in Nigeria, 4th best state university, and 19th overall best in Nigeria in 2021. UNIMED, proudly Nigeria's first specialized medical and health sciences university.
Welcome back. Well, Honorable Yusuf, what is going on with the consultation regarding the number 2 slot of your party?
The number 2 slot consultation is ongoing across board. The candidate has his team working for him. The party set up a team about 3 days ago, I guess. It is extremely of importance that we get it right. And I know that the candidate understands he's a veteran. And I doubt if you have this kind of opportunity again. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. So he has a responsibility to really sit down, take away emotions, and practically look at it. What is this man bringing to the table? With somebody who can add value to that ticket. So I know that is ongoing. I know we have arrays of them in PDP. It's naturally going to come from the South. That is it. So it's ongoing. I'm aware that there are consultations going on.
Will religion play a role?
Definitely. Definitely. We are not ripe for such attempt. Yeah, it happened in 1983. 1993. And you do not take those exceptions as a rule. So I still think it's of necessity. Going back a bit, digressing a bit over the Southeast. So unfortunately, the present regime or the present president contributed immensely to the agitation getting to this level. When you have been privileged to have done 3 elections, everybody cannot like you. Even in your family, everybody cannot vote for you. So it's your responsibility by your demeanor, your action, to deliberately tell them that, oh, you can trust me. The president's body language, utterances at the beginning did not help. So how can you be first foreign trip, or I can't know if it's not the first, but the American trip he made first. He had 95%, 5%, and what have you. Hey, you don't know the damage such will do to somebody watching in those areas. So we need, by the grace of God, a president who his appearance, his demeanor is seen as, hey, I can be true, it can accommodate me. If I'm not even there, can I tell you something? The day we get leaders who have those tendencies and exhibit them, we won't be bothered about where you come from, where you don't come from. It's the fact that we come to as of now.
Because we did it before. In 1993, nobody cared about any of this. People were so excited about the process. They wanted their voices heard.
Thank you.
And so when that didn't happen, so people just gradually just sipped away.
It's like we travel about 50 kilometers and we are back 100 kilometers.
In addition to your response, let me add this question. You know, those watching, they may think, well, yeah, the APC, PDP, 2 separate parties. But these 2 flag bearers are friends. They've been friends for a long time. How do Nigerians now deal or relate to this kind of scenario?
They may be friends. They may be friends for a long time. They have their different personalities, and the perception of Nigerians about, towards each other, any one of them is different. So Atiku there's a way Nigerians see Atiku, there's a way Nigerians see the other guy. And a lot of them are friends. Even Peter Obi they are friends. So largely what I feel is that everything must be about Nigeria. It must be about the future of this country.
How do we know they won't strike a deal among themselves, have that handshake behind the scenes? Whoever wins, look, this is what we'll do. Yeah, we'll contest, but at the end of the day, you know how these things happen.
No. Let me tell you something. The fact that they are friends, all right, does not mean that when it comes to the issue of Nigeria, they can't take a stand. For instance, our candidate in the PDP has his position on Nigeria and what he wants to do, what he hopes to do for Nigeria. And I believe the other guys too, not just Ashiwaju, but every other, individuals who have come up to say, I want to be president, have their position about Nigeria. They must be able to go through that. Like I said, it's about this country. It's not really about these guys. And I just hope they'll be able to stay through to that and make Nigeria their first priority.
I put that question because, it's going to be one of the longest campaign period. Yes. And so the supporters out there need to be wise. They need to remember, first and foremost, they are friends, and they know how they sort themselves out behind the scenes. So I think, hopefully, we should be hopeful, at least, to say the least, that maybe the way politicking goes this time around may just be different. Do you both see that being different from the last
Chimbali, you know what I'm looking out for in all of this? Whether they are friends or not, it doesn't really matter to me. It's about them coming to discuss issues that has to do with this country.
Healthy campaign.
Healthy campaign, not all this unhealthy rivalry. You can't run away from it. But let them just come up and discuss issues that has to do with Nigeria, and then how they want to address those issues. That is my take for them. And then I'm happy. You can see the way PDP has been going about its issues, and even my candidate. It has always been about issues. Even before we went to the primaries, Atiku wrote out his policy plans, the unity seeds and all that. These are the things that are affecting this country. And people want to hear how you want to address them. So for me, it's okay. We'll wait to see what the other guys are coming up.
Honorable Yusuf, you've been in politics and you still are. Does the narrative as to what your plans, your policy, your program, what you want to do, if it's better than your opponent, does it play a role in how leaders emerge and how politicians and Nigerians vote for such people? If we have debates, for instance.
Yes, but not to the degree I would love it to. Yes, there are still people who vote based on those convictions. There are people who...
Are they significant?
One vote is significant. My first election, I won with 3 votes. My primary election.
3?
That's 3. Yes. I won with 3 votes. So that will tell you that...
You never forget the very first one, do you?
I don't. So, by implication, every segment, every opinion counts, but not to the degree that it is enough to shape our politics. So I agree with you that we need to do something first. I might be moralizing here, and people will say, it has to do with the family. It has to, what is our value system? I grew up knowing that I got to contribute money to buy football. I dare not take it home. Where did you get the money? So our parents asking those questions again. Any scars you find on me, I was beaten at home for doing wrong. I do have such again. If you walk on the street in your neighborhood and you do wrong, any adult has a right to correct you. Do you have such again? So how do we expect the society or the politics to be different from the reflection of our value system? So that is the situation where we find ourselves. We have a responsibility to deliberately, I don't know how it will happen, but we must deliberately slow down this anyhow. Just get it. So if you get it anyhow, then you do it anyhow.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, you do it anyhow. So when Nigerians are talking about when people get to power, he's not doing this. Hey, what do you have a leadership recruitment process? Do we have? Do you have things that check? Oh, TJ, in 1820, this is what he did. He has tendency of behaving this way. Can we sieve him out? Do you have such? No. So it just, hey, how do we just emerge? We have a response as a nation. I pray, I'm sorry. It's as if I'm going to hit this government. This government came on the pedestal of those narrative, and they gave an impression that we are coming to do this. And I'm sorry, by privilege, it has never been this bad. We have never been this divided. The corruption is, in fact, it used to be that you award contracts and they steal money via over bloated contractors. No, they just take from the source now. They don't do so. We seriously, we are the lowest as a young man I've ever seen. So we have a responsibility to deliberately ask the right question. Ask the right question from our leaders. And I pray that, I'm sorry that I'm saying praying, because rhetorics, anybody that is looking for position will tell you good things. But I would take the time to look at his yesterday, when he's not aspiring, what he's saying now, does that correlation with what he said yesterday? Do you have the patience? Do you read? Do you check their background? We don't. So, however, this party has been in government for 7 years now. So before now, they were telling us this is what we do. We'll do better than PDP. We'll correct this. They've been there now for 7 years. So Nigerians can look at both parties. Can now, we'll give you opportunity. We can see that you're even worse than what we had before. So that's what I'm telling people. I don't envy Asuaju. But I don't know what he's going to campaign with. I don't know what he's going to tell Nigerians why we should continue on the trajectory.
He's mentioned some of them yesterday.
Very simple. I will play back what he told us in 2014. The way what he told us PDP did wrong. We have the videos. We have everything. What he told us we did wrong. What they are going to do. No, not just oppose. I'm sure Nigerians will be able to differentiate between both parties. Forget that you mentioned being friends. Being friends is not a bad thing. It's important to understand that we will play politics of issues, because of ideas, and if they can show that comradeship, you should cascade down for supporters not to go into arms. There's no politics that is won by taking arms against yourself. There's never been a good war, a bad peace. So why don't you just sit down and Jojo, tell me why your candidate is better than mine. Why must we go into? I pray we don't go into such things. I don't have this kind of bloodletting that happened in 2011 when we lost how many coppers in Bauchi, youth coppers who went to serve and, I mean, volunteered for our election and they end up losing their life.
Now, well, it's good to see you again. So you said that what will the APC campaign with? I'm wondering, for your party as well, what will the PDP campaign with?
What do people campaign with? The people campaign with what we did before APC come into power.
But that's why the PDP was voted out.
We were told, we were voted out, yes, because Nigerians were convinced by the propaganda of the APC that they will do better. It is natural that a man will naturally seek greener pasture if he is offered such opportunity. But when you go, there's a saying in Yoruba, say until you marry another husband, you won't know the value of your first husband. I want to give you an example. Where we are now, the price of diesel is 800 naira per liter. Do you know that most small-scale industry, even big-time industries, run on generator? You know the ripple effect of such on the economy? How much is $1 to naira? The component of most things you use in production comes in from abroad. And remember, I said earlier on, I'll just pick the videos of 2014 and 2015 and play it.
No,
just like what happened in the
Honorable, I want us to be practical here because Nigerians, of course, are listening. They're hoping to make their decisions perhaps based off this conversation and future conversations as well. So are you saying that your party will tell Nigerians that, well, if you vote us in, we can take diesel back to the price it was pre-2015? Are you saying that we'll take the naira back to what it was?
And cheap.
No, you're saying that how much was diesel? I mean, we know gas prices even in the US is soaring now. People are even switching to electric vehicles because they can't really afford petrol, as it were. So what exactly, again, I say, would your party campaign with? Because it sounds as though you're saying you tell Nigerians, choose a lesser evil.
No. I'm not telling Nigerians to choose a lesser evil. PDP is far, 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 far. Okay, let me give you a simple example. Both parties, ruling party and the PDP were planning for convention. INEC gave a timeline. As a party that understands democratic ethics and value and time, PDP met the timeline. But on a date of PDP's primary, around 11 p.m., INEC had to extend the timetable. Until the timetable was extended, APC had not done screening for our presidential aspirants. What am I trying to tell you? It shows you how ill-prepared APC is for governance. You do not just walk into power. You deliberately prepare and look at issues and what you can do when you get to power. PDP is and remain the only party in this country that does not just hunger for power. We deliberately plan and look at, my friend just told you here, our candidates before the primaries came out with his policy agendas to Nigeria so we can debate it. And I can even use the present governors of both parties to explain this. I can tell you, it's an open secret. Who among APC governors will match people like Wiki in terms of project and president? Look at what is happening in Oyo. So let me tell you something. The manifesto of the party is good, but the process by which you chose your candidate matters a lot. If you, as a party, jettison certain values and anything can happen, you naturally raise men who do not believe in those values.
Honorable, don't forget.
Have a pedigree of.
Pardon me. Don't forget that Governor Wike actually spoke about that process, saying, well, he didn't think things went quite well. Saying, why would you allow someone who had already spoken to come back to speak again. That literally just messed up the whole system. In fact, for him, he said, your party should have, stuck to the rules of the whole process. So even with the process that brought up your candidate, there are still questions. But there was something I wanted to follow up on earlier on, where you said that, under this government, and by way of privilege, you're a member of the National Assembly, that, monies are not being stolen even by, bloating contracts and all that. It's being taken from the source. So do you have any instance where that happened?
Very simple. Consultancy is the vehicle, the farm which those things are taken out. If you follow the stories that have been going on about the governors, the Paris Club before that, what have you, you're taking a loan, and consultancy is taking about 30% of the loan. How does it speak to? It is not that you're taking a loan and it's for a specific project and everything is going to the project, so we now begin to question the value, the cost of the project. Consultancy is a very, very funny and unimaginable tool in the hand of this government to pilfer. I pray we had the privilege of having another government, a PDP government, because a lot of things will be on earth. It's so unfortunate that we are not yet a nation where we have men and women who are bold enough to confront ills in government while the government is in power. Unfortunately,
it's interesting that you put it that way, because one is wondering.
Some party members,
just 1 second,
more than Nigeria.
Just 1 second, Honourable. Part of the things that a number of people had against your party was this same corruption issue. And forgive me, I'm going to go to that Auditor General's reports again. Honourable, the Auditor General's report of 2012, 2013, and 2014, a sizable number of those things weren't even taking a look at all. But, maybe that's another matter for you when you get into the National Assembly. We can only wish you success in that. But let me ask Honourable, Mr. Debi, just a second. We'll come back to that later. We'll come back to it. Let me ask Mr. Fabi, because he hasn't spoken in a while. Kade asked a question that I'd like you to also respond to. And Honourable, Yusuf has spoken to it. What, in your opinion, would the PDP be campaigning with? Why should people choose you, your party, over any other party in the coming elections?
Well, thank you very much. Before the APC came on board, they came up and said PDP was not doing this right, they're not getting this right, they're too corrupt, their economy is bad. And let us juxtapose the time they came in and what we have in this country now. This is not the best of time for this country, and this is widely adjudged to be so. We, the Nigerians, believe that, give an APC opportunity, to right, according to them, the wrongs that the PDP has done. But as we speak at this moment...
What we hear from you now, if you don't mind me butting in, I would have expected that what we'll be hearing now is, look, this is the way we are going to do this better. I've heard the two of you talk about the fact that, APC did this, APC didn't do that. Can you just speak to why you are the better party?
Just hold on. Just give me a time, right? Let me tell you something. From the selection of the man that will be at the driver's seat, and Atiku Abubakar, his pedigree, his antecedent, that is the first thing you have to look at. And that is to tell you that PDP is coming up with something new. Go into his policy document, go into the party manifestos, you will see what we are talking about. Now we have issue of insecurity, we have biting economic issues. We have to grapple with the unity of this country. This country has been so divided. These are the things we are bringing on board. There are other constitutional issues like devolution of powers, where each of the regions will develop at their own pace. These are the things we are bringing on board. Look at the education system. These are the things we are bringing on board. And Atiku is very clear about what he would want to, and PDP are clear about what they want to do about it. There are challenges of security, there are challenges, economic challenges, and these are the things we are bringing on board. And I can bet you Atiku is ready to do this. PDP is ready to go all the way to correct the anomalies and the failures of the current leadership of the country. You will give it. You will never take it away that the APC has done so badly, and then nobody in his right senses would wish this continue. Nobody.
Okay.
APC has done so badly.
Okay,
so PDP is coming to correct all these anomalies.
Okay.
That's what we're coming to do.
All right, well, one of the issues that a sizable number of people have consistently talked about, is that of corruption. And Honorable Yusuf, you wanted to respond to the issue I raised the other time about the fight against corruption under the PDP and under the APC. I mean, we raised the issue the other time, and you said you would like to respond to it. I just wanted to hear Mr. Fabi's voice for a little bit. That Auditor General's report, a number of people believe, is a very strong instrument to fight corruption. But it would seem like no government, neither the PDP government nor the APC government, has seen that instrument as a veritable tool for fighting corruption.
Auditor General's report those who crafted the Constitution and created that office is deliberate. It was deliberate because they know that there are lapses and areas that would not be seen by the ordinary eye. So that report, most time, do not come immediately after that year. 2012 report came about 2015 or 2016. It takes time for those reports to come out. However, when there are action taken, it might not be in the public. But I do not have facts about what was done. And I'm not in any way sitting here to say PDP government was corruption-free. But within the party, there were those who were ready to challenge those tendencies when PDP was in power. I tell people that as a PDP member in the House of Reps, I was one of those who stand on the floor, in spite and despite of being a PDP member, to say one or two things are not being done well. But what we have now is that everybody could toe to party line. You dare not, in secret, by the backside, APC members will tell you, we know this is bad. But on the floor, they will fight with their blood to defend it. So I'm saying that we have taken this tokeism and unnecessary, for lack of a better word, ego worshipping too far, so much that nobody can speak truth to power. So I'm saying that the difference between PDP and APC fundamentally is that you have a right to express your opinion more in PDP. There is this liberality that is in the air, that you know that you can challenge certain position without fear of anything happening to you. But look at this National Assembly election. You dare not come against the almighty position of the party in APC. But in PDP period, go and rewind back. Members will say, oh, this is the way we want to go, we want to choose our leaders. So that's what I'm saying. I say, for liberty to be stiffened, you naturally gag the voice of the people. And the moment nobody can speak, even at this level, those who should be able to speak at my level cannot speak, you are in trouble. So that is why the corruption index to me of this government has got to this so high, because you don't have no institution that has the capacity and to check those tendencies. And when you check, when the public make noise, I don't want to mention names, you see them being integrated back. They are taken out for 2-3 months and they are back to power.
We need to wind down now, gentlemen. So, Demeju, what happened if the APC was able to vote out the sitting government at the time? What makes parties now think that Nigerians cannot vote out both the APC and the PDP and bring in a different party altogether?
Yeah, that is the beauty of democracy. Nigerians have the right. They reserve the right to do that.
Because they say they're tired of both APC and PDP.
But I don't think they are tired of the PDP. I don't think they are tired of the PDP. Go around the country. Go around the country. Go around the country. See, all these people you're talking about, these new parties that are coming, go out there and feel the pulse of the people.
You know what?
These guys are not even, they don't even know, they can't even trust them.
What really are these parties? I mean, because you have to ask, what the parties are about. Your candidate and flag bearer now has been to, quite a number of parties. He's been in this, even the APC, which you're about to criticize. He contested the primaries in 2015. He didn't win. He was there for a while before he went to the PDP. Before that time, he had tried to run on the ACN. Yes, he tried to run, I think. He went to the ACN. I think the ticket then was given to Mr. Between Ribadu or himself.
It was him, no?
Yes, it was between the two of them. So that was, this is how far. It would seem that we've seen people crisscrossing these two major parties. And there are questions as to what exactly is changing ideologically for, you know, for the party. Let me take yours, for instance. The PDP itself, what is changing ideologically for it? Because some people will say, yes, it was, you know, formed as a contraption to win elections in 1999. But since then, shouldn't it have evolved to now be a party of ideology, so much so that in the states that it has controlled for a very long time now without breaking, shouldn't we be able to see strategically and ideologically a difference between it and say the state that other parties control?
Is that for me?
Yes, for either of you willing to take it on.
First, let me tell you where Nigeria is now. I don't think the issue of somebody leaving party to another one should be that should be the issue now. I think the issue should have been where we are now. How do we improve on where
What do you mean that shouldn't be the issue?
It should not have been an issue because leaving one party to the other has never determined what you get. Some people left the party for what they feel.
So what moral right would you then have?
It's not a question of morality here.
What moral right would you then have to criticize another party, especially if you've been there?
When a party has not done well, we'll tell them they've not done well. You know, the ones that have done well, we'll tell them they've done well. That's exactly what we're saying. A party came on board and said, we are going to address insecurity, we are going to address corruption, and they've not even done anything. They've not even been able to achieve anything. And we have to tell them. So Nigerians have the right to choose. They will listen to both the party and the guys that will be at the driver's seat, what they want to do. These people have antecedents. I think it's about the person that is coming on board now, what he has to offer.
But you must admit that if you look at the states and the government of the states, even at the local level, should be the closest to the people.
Yes.
Are there states that you can look at and say these are the star states that we as a party can project and say, look at what we've done here. We promise that if we come to the center, we'll be able to replicate same at the center.
Of course.
I did earlier on here. I mentioned Rivers. I mentioned Oyo. I can mention Enugu.
What is ideologically different in those states?
First of all, Akwa Ibom.
Yes.
First of all, the engaging nature of PDP, you really find a PDP state that there's no deliberate engagement with the people. That engagement, that deliberately creates a culture of inclusiveness in the people. So the people, okay, I can have my complaint and I have my discussion and nobody is going to use it against me. Two, hardly, there might be one or two exceptions. You find a PDP state. Today, I use Rivers as an example, and I use Oyo, and I'm using Enugu, I'm using Bauchi, I'm using Akwa Ibom. That you will not find, one, a deliberate policy on education to make it affordable if it's not free. Not just mounting.
I wish we had more time. I understand that we're totally out of time. I would have taken you on, because for everything that you mentioned, I would have given you another stage.
I would have loved to be
the parties will have their time to go ahead and campaign, but not on this ground, gentlemen. No, we will apologize on that one. Okay, your final word before.
My final word. I am not an apostle of changing parties. It's so unfortunate that Nigerian politics has become a norm in Nigerian politics. I'm praying we'll grow out of it so that we don't set those examples. The ideologies of parties should be the motivation why you join a party. But because of the unnecessary ego trip of people in power in Nigeria, so people feel that they are stiffened out of the party because of the act of anger they leave. But I am praying that we'll get, deliberately, I've told myself, God, give me the grace. If it's that bad, I should walk you a non-contest election. So I want to say that parties should be vehicles deliberately crafted based on your conviction. You've chosen the apology, this is where I should be. And that's my...
Well, gentlemen, Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf, senatorial candidate of the PDP, Kogi West, as well as Dimeji Fabi, a member of the PDP. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. Why do I think it's a Friday? We'll see you tomorrow then. I'm Chamberlain, so.
After the intensity of the week, it should feel like a Friday.
Oh, boy.
It's been one intense week, I can tell you that. Thank you so much for staying with us all of this time. We appreciate your viewership. And thank you also for sending your comments. I'm sure we'll find time to take them. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, from here in Lagos, I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And I'm Bukola Sami Wemimo. Thank you for watching.
Have a wonderful day and keep Nigeria in your heart. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a good day.